Shipping pottery can be kind of scary, so today I'm going to show you how I do it and hopefully give you some tips and tricks. First thing is that you're going to need some tape, a box, paper of some kind, and a little bit of bubble wrap. The first step is selecting your box. I've chosen a 9x9x9 box for this mug because it will give me about 2 inches or more of space around the entire piece. The goal is always to have at least 2 inches between your piece and the wall of the box, just in case something bumps it or punctures through the box during shipping, it's not going to reach your piece. So here I'm just taping up the bottom of my box to get it ready, and then I'm going to set it aside. Next, we're going to move over to our paper. I'm using a roll of newsprint here. It's something that will crumple fairly easily and fill spaces in your box nicely. I'm actually going to score the outer part of this roll to create sheets for myself. It's much easier than trying to unroll bits and pieces all at once, but you can also just buy newsprint in sheets or use like newspapers if that is something that you have access to. Now onto the fun part, actually wrapping up the pot. It's most important that you fill any and all voids in your pot, especially if it's fragile. So stuff the inside of your mug or vase or whatever it is you're shipping tightly with packing paper. You want to make sure that you couldn't fit more paper in there if you tried. So I've used about 3 sheets of my paper here, and that's enough to fill the inside of this mug. It's also really important that if your pot has a handle, that the space in between your handle and the pot is also full of newsprint, so there's no void there either. So I've stuffed a little bit of paper in between the handle and the mug body on this mug. Now you're going to take your mug and place it on the sheets of newsprint that you cut earlier and wrap your pot carefully in those. I typically start with my handle, if I have one, in the corner and fold up and over that. And then once I've wrapped the pot around the paper once or twice, I then fold the edges in to create more of a buffer. I'm going to do this with a bunch of different sheets of paper. The goal here is to wrap your pot so that you can't feel the edges of any part of it distinctly. So you can't feel the lip, the rim, the foot, the handle, any of it. It will be just kind of like a big soft glob of paper. And you want to wrap this tightly, because if you don't wrap it super tightly and the paper is really loose, you're not really providing a ton of protection. Once you're feeling comfortable with the level of paper you have wrapped around your pot and can't really feel any of the edges, it's time to get out your bubble wrap. I'm using perforated bubble wrap that you can buy at any office goods store. I'm going to tear off 1 long piece and 2 short pieces. In this case, the long piece is just 2 perforated sections, and then the short pieces are just 1 each. I'm then going to take those sheets and lay them out with the long one on the bottom and the 2 smaller ones on top of it. And then I'm going to take my pot and place it in the very center of one of the small sheets. I'm then going to fold all of the corners up and to the center so they all meet in the middle of the pot. This allows me to get the maximum amount of coverage with the minimal amount of packaging. So using one little sheet will actually cover the whole pot in 1 layer of bubble wrap. Without taping those corners together, I'm then going to carefully flip it upside down and do the same thing with the second sheet, folding all of the corners into the middle. Then carefully holding those 4 corners together, I'm going to flip the pot upside down one more time and lay the seam of that face down on the long sheet of bubble wrap. I'm then going to very carefully just start rolling that up until I reach the end of the long sheet, and then I'll tape those pieces together. Next, you have to close the ends of the bubble wrap. So I'm going to stand it on end and kind of, when you fold a fancy present, I'm going to do that on the ends of the bubble wrap and then tape those sections down. And I'll flip the pot over and do that on both sides. what you end up with is a tightly wrapped, nice little cylinder that will be nice and easy to pack in your box, which will be the next step. So the goal when packing your box is to fill all spaces or voids in it completely. You want to pack this tight. So I am using the roll of paper and ripping off long sheets of it and crumpling it tightly. Right now it doesn't look like I'm crumpling it super tightly, but that's just because I'm going to continue to press more and more in there. I'm creating a layer of about an inch down at the bottom of this box, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, but the goal is to get your pot centered in the middle of the box so it's nice and well balanced. Not only will it be well balanced, it will also be as far away from any point of impact that could possibly occur in the box. Once I have enough of a layer at the bottom, I'm going to fit my pot into the box. And while this looks like this is pretty close to the edges of the box, remember that this pot already has about an inch to an inch and a half of packing material around it. So while I do want to cushion and make sure there's space in between the pot and the box, I don't need that full 2 inches to be around the exterior of the already wrapped pot. What you don't want to do is allow the pot that you've already wrapped to be touching the outside edge of the box at any point. So there should still be enough of a gap for you to squeeze more paper in between all the way around, but you don't need the full 2 inches to be in between the already little wrapped pot and the outside edge of the box. Overall, there's still 2 inches of space around every single dimension of my pot when you include the packing material from the already wrapped pot. So now I'm just going to pack more paper in and around every little bit of the box, filling every hole, every little void I can. I want to compress this paper to the max amount that it can be compressed. That way it can't shift during shipping. I'm also going to pack more paper on top of the pot. So there's about an inch layer that is in between the pot and the top of the box. The goal is that you have to press a little bit when you go to close the flaps of the box so that it compresses. If you were to pick the box up and while you're holding the lid closed kind of give it a little shake, you should not be able to hear any movement coming from inside the box. It should just stay exactly where you put it. If you can hear movement, you haven't packed it tight enough. Add more paper. What you've been seeing while I've been talking for the last little while has been me writing my thank you notes. I write a handwritten thank you note for every pot I ship out. It's not important so much as it is something I include. I also include care instructions. I'll add this little note into the box and then I'm going to carefully tape it shut. Now, it should be hard to tape your box shut. You should have to hold it down. I'm going to tape all edges and make sure that everything is nice and sealed. You want to make sure that your box is not bulging too much though. It should still be a box. You shouldn't have any edges kind of bursting out. Once I've got all those edges taped up, I'm going to weigh my box so that I can print my shipping label. I'll weigh it and then enter all the details into Etsy, which is what I use, and print my shipping label. I'm not going to show that because it shows the person's address. Once I finish with the weighing and adding the shipping label, I then like to decorate my box. This is real time. I know it looks a little scary, but I am just taking a Sharpie and drawing my shop logo and some little flowers and leaves on the outside of this box. I really enjoy decorating the outside of my boxes. It's kind of fun for me and it allows me to personalize each box a little bit. This is how I ship out my pots. Also, key here, I only ship pots USPS. I don't mess with anything else. So definitely in the boat of support our postal service. It's incredibly useful for small businesses like myself. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments section. I will be checking back on this video periodically to make sure that if you're having trouble, I'm getting back to you. I hope this video has been helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.